Okay, good morning to all participants. I'm Shyamangal Singh, founder and CEO at Rectron and CTO at Stockity and Mass Energy. I welcome all the participants in our third session of data science. And in this today's session, we'll be learning all types of data visualization technique and the curve fitting toolbox. We'll open one live script, and first we are going to load one data. This data has been shared by one of the participant. It is related to some medical, like whether the person can have a cancer or not a can or cannot have a cancer based upon some blood pressure and some other features which he has listed in table B, C, D, E, G, and H, and in the ith column, he is predicting like that. So we are right now, but we are just using this for a data visualization. Okay, so better we'll take this example also, and one more example I'll take. Okay, so first we will take this example. Like this is related to real-time currency value change as per the percentage change, and we want to see like what is the correlation between like different kinds of a feature. So for this, what we can do, first we will going to import this data into a table. A is equal to data is equal to, first I'll change my parent directory into the folder where I have all the files. Data is equal to read table. Why we are taking table? Because table is the more general best way approach in order to include all types of data, because we have seen if we use XLS read, then it will only going to take numeric data. But in table, like whether the data is in string format, number format, or date and type format, or categorical data, everything will be included. Yeah, last day content already I think have been mailed to all the participants by NIT team, all the material. Okay, fine. So here, as we can see in the table, the column B represents the price, the closing price of that day, and column F is the percentage change. Okay, so do we have any correlation between this two columns that we want to see? So percentage change is our column 8 and opening price is our column 2. So how we can directly take the data without converting into a matrices, which we did earlier, like we have used table to array command. So we can use this one by writing this way. First, we have to write the table name, and then with a dot, whatever is the name of that column, like what you are saying with bold letter in the column, or sorry, the row first, which is above the row 1. So you have to take the name, that one, say var 1. So say I want to first plot between this one. So plot var1, comma. So here we don't require any kind of a conversion code, var 8, and run it. Similarly, we can have a different plot with other fields. Say plot data. Data is the name of the data table, and I'm sorry, it should be var2, not var1. Data dot variable 2 versus data table name and the column field var3. This should be capital. Okay. If you directly click on the table in the workspace and select directly from here, like say variable or the column 2 versus column 4 with control press. So directly if you go into the plot category, you'll see automatically whatever the plot which is possible, it will be highlighted. Okay, so I can see like what different kinds of plot I can get here. So say suppose I want to see in the scatter plot. So the moment you click on it, MATLAB will generate a code for you also here. So you can directly use this code and paste it into your script, which we are developing into the live script here. And you can directly put it to see how the visuals will be. So in this way also, like you can easily, if you forget also like how to use the command for various different plots, then you can directly use this command terminal technique where you first load the data into workspace, and from there whatever plot you want, you can get that plot. Say I want the histogram of this selection var2. So I will just click on the histogram and it will give me the entire code of the histogram, and from here I can put it into my script for automation. Because manually when you have a lot of data, so manually each time you won't be doing it. So this is a good approach, while like how you can generate the code and later on put it into a script so that you can do some data analysis. Okay. Now in order to check the correlation, like how much it is correlated to the other variable, like if you want to find out the covariance. Okay. So what we can do, we can use a CORR function, which is used for correlation. Find out, and I want to find out what is the correlation between the data in the column 2 and the data in the column 3. Okay, or if somebody has a data of say medical data like height versus blood pressure or body weight or body mass index. So all these data, if they are arranged and you want to find out like is there any correlation between blood pressure and height. Okay, so that also you can find out. So we'll take this example and we will see what the value signifies here. So data, the name of the table, and then the column name var2 versus data dot var3. So here we are finding like what is the correlation between column 2 and column 3, which represents the different feature. So here the answer is 0.9753. If the correlation is close to 1 or close to -1, then it represents that yes, it has a like as the parameter will increase. If it is 1, so does the other dependent function will also increase. So correlation, if it is close to 1, then it is like highly correlated or it has a following trend. Okay. But if the magnitude of the value is low compared to 1, okay, say it is 0 0.2, 0 0.1, then it is non-correlated. To understand this thing, we will generate a dummy data. Say there is a variable a is equal to from 1 to 100, okay. So suppose this is my x and this is my y. Y is equal to sine of x. Now, because I know from the plot command that this is of sinusoidal nature, so in this case, I want to find out the correlation between x and y. So if I use the correlation function, correlation x and y, then let's see what it gives. What is giving NaN? 1, okay, 1, run. Yeah, actually the data should be in kind of a column matrix for correlation find out. So here it gives a correlation of minus 0.048. So here the magnitude is quite low. It is hardly 4% compared to the data which is there, which is 97% close to 1. Okay, so here this tells that the data in our column 2 and column 3 like they follow the trend of each other. Okay, if the value of this will increase, so does the value of the other will also increase. Okay, but here it shows that they are not correlated with each other, because we can see it is quite sinusoidal or cyclic in nature. So uh, it doesn't matter whether the time increases, it can have the value greater than 0 or less than 0. If any participant have any geographical location based weather data, they can give it to me. I can include it in our example in second half session to show a visualization technique based upon geographical location also. Now we will find out what if we have a data, and as per our mathematical model, we want to see like how that data is resembling to what percentage of that mathematical model. See, I'll put a section breaker here. For first case, I'm just creating a dummy data for simplicity, and later on we will apply this technique in the above EUR USD to know some long-term trends. So in this dummy example, I'm creating a random 8 data set independent, and say suppose I'm doing so Ohm's law experiment, okay, where I'm changing the voltage, say 1 volt, 2 volt, 3 volt, up to 8 volt at every 1 volt interval, and accordingly I'm testing the like amount of current produced in that apparatus, and I'm measuring it. So say it is, and first it is 0.9, I'll put into matrix, then 1.8, 2.9, 3.6. Because any instrument is not an ideal, it will contain some error, but then also we want to find out like what is the overall accuracy of the system. But I not use comma here for data. Then 4.5 comma 5.8 comma 6.7 comma 7.6. Okay, if these are my two experimental data set where x is my independent variable and y is my output from the system, okay, then in this case system. Okay. In this case, if you want to see the correlation, directly we will put correlation x transpose comma y transpose, and first we will run this section and then we will go for curve fitting to get some feature information. So here it says that the correlation between x and y, which we know that because of Ohm's law, it should be directly proportional. So it is close to 1. Okay, so here we are getting a good correlation. And for data for this thing, for curve fitting tool, we will call one function cf tool, and we will run this section. So MATLAB will open a GUI for curve fitting toolbox. So in this case, you can see we can do the analysis for at least 3 variables, which is x, y, and z. So right now, in our case, we have only 2 variables, that is x and y. So in x, we will put the data of x, and in y, we'll put the data of y. And here you can give the name of this experiment. Say it is Ohm's law. Ohm's law experiment. So here what happens, by default, MATLAB is set to a polynomial of degree 1. Okay, so here whatever you are seeing, it is giving you an equation of a straight line, like what will be the best straight line that can fit on this experimental data with least error. So it is giving you an optimized equation of straight line. So let us understand each term one by one. So here uh, the default equation for any 1 degree equation is y is equal to mx plus c, where m is represented by p1 and c, that is the constant part, that is represented by p2 here. Okay, and y is represented by function of fx. So now here there can be n number of straight lines which can fit on these experimental data, but only one straight line will be there which will having the least error. And how we are calculating the error? Um, let me show you. So let me first take the paint to explain this. Line. Okay. Brush. My experimental point can be this, here or here. Okay. So the error can be like the distance from this point. Yeah. Size. So the error can be the distance between this and this. So error can be positive or negative, like negative, depends like where the error is. If it is above the line, then it is a positive error. So delta E will be positive if it is like greater than or above the this line. So here we are having both positive errors, positive error 3, positive error 2. So like this. So if we sum of all this error, E1, all these are positive, and E0, and these are all negative errors. So if we sum up all this error, it may lead to a net a very low number, or it can sometime can occur to 0 also. So direct summation of all this error from say not from I to 5 won't give me a true a result that whether the straight line is perfect or not. Okay, but if I square each error so that the negative magnitude also becomes positive, and then I sum all the error and then take the square root, so it will give me a more accurate way in order to know like how the straight line is fitting to the experimental point. Okay, so we are taking that only in this example, which is the SSE, which is the sum of square errors. Okay, so because it doesn't matter whether the point lie above the line or below the line, because if we take the square, it will be positive, and if we add all the positive number, it will be even greater number. So if that greater number is very close to zero, then it means that yes, whatever mathematical model we are trying to fit, it is more accurately validating the experimental data, that mathematical model. R square is your a kind of absolute correlation factor, or you can say accuracy percentage here, that it tells that it is 99.74% accurate with respect to the experimental data. And RMSE is a root mean square error parameter. So as we know that in this case, though we are supposed to conduct an experiment related to Ohm's law, so we cannot use this y is equal to mx plus c. Rather, our equation should be something y is equal to p1x, that's all. Because there is only net resistance we want to find out in that circuit, not P2 term. So here you can do it while going to the parameter, where you can see like there are lot many features based upon uh, the inbuilt mathematical function. Like you can fit some different mathematical model also, say Fourier, if you want to fit on the same data. Then and from here you can change the degree. So this will almost fit 100%. R square is 1, it means it fits 100%. So like that, they have like lot many features in which in the polynomial also you can increase the power and see like how this curve is trying to fit with this one. So here, if you note, pay attention here in the left column, then you will see the equation also changes here. Now the equation is P1 into x cube plus p2 into x square plus p3 into x plus p4, and MATLAB is calculating all the coefficient for you, so doing all the statistical part and giving you an optimized equation of like cubic equation that can fit accurately to the experimental data. Now, though we are supposed to conduct one experiment in which the relation should be y is equal to px only, so that you can do while going to the custom equation. So in custom equation, MATLAB will allow you to write your own physics. Okay. So we will delete whatever is there by default and we will write our own, that is R into X, because R is the resistance part and X, or say suppose I'm conducting one experiment where I'm calculating I, and in terms of voltage, so it will be divided by R, right? So I'll put like this, X divided by R. So here MATLAB will calculate in this case, okay, what will be the value of resistance so that it can match the result as accurate as possible. So here it shows that the value of resistance will be nearly around 1.05 ohms, like that way. Now we will take one more example in which we will try to like change this data to a greater extent, and then we will try to fit it. In the existing data only, I'm just making some changes so that to make it more. Okay, now I'll run this equation. Cancel. No. And run the section again. Yeah. So in X data, we will load the X1, and in Y data, we will load the Y. And now we have like lot many errors. We can see that if we take the linear by default, then the R square gives only 10% of accuracy compared to the previous one where we have data very close to the this linear model. So here in this case, we want to see like what different kind of function can be very close to this one. So if I take a sum of sine functions and a degree of 2, then we can see the efficiency is a little bit increasing from 10%. Right now it is 32%. So as you increase the number of degree, it will going to, sorry, I cannot take more than 2 here because the number of data point I have is very less. And if we compare with the polynomial, we know that any polynomial, if we have 8 number of data, then 8 minus 1 degree will fit 100% to the experimental data. So if I take the polynomial of 7, it will going to fit it accurately on all the point. And here in the R square, you can see it is giving you 100% fit accuracy. But this type of problem can, or the fitting can lead to a new problem, which is called overfitting. In overfitting, what happens? You are not able to determine a general trend. Okay, rather it can give you a wrong result in the like next point. Say uh, after the point 7, we can see that it is just sharply increasing. Okay, so what if I have a data, now I will correlate this result with a real data, which is the stock one, so that I can better explain the problem with the this one, overfitting. Control C. X is equal to data dot var2, that is the opening price of the stock. Okay, and I want because all this data are arranged into a serial number of ascending order, so I want to create the day data, which will go up to from 1 is to length of this X data. And here I want to launch the curve fitting toolbox. Run section. Okay. So in X, we will load the day, which is independent parameter, as we cannot control the time. And depending upon the day, we want to measure, okay, what is the value of the currency exchange or the power demand, whatever is there, you can put it. So that we have loaded in X, yes, that is loaded into X. So in Y axis, we will load the X data. So now we can see here the data. If we see its long-term trend, then MATLAB tells us that yes, because the coefficient of P is positive. Okay, so it tells that as the time is increasing, so does the data is also is increasing, and this is what actually happening also. If you compare the Asian Paint stock, then their value is also increasing. Okay, so sometime if you have a least degree, then it will give you a more generalized trend, like how the overall trend is going on a longer term. But on a instantaneous basis, it is fluctuating over this straight line. It is going little bit up also, and then coming little bit down also. So this one here, if you look at to the R square, then it gives that this straight line is 80% accurate. So here you will see one more option, which is called center unscaling. So what happens in center, that it will find out the mean of the entire data set, and it will subtract each point from that mean, and then it will going to plot it so that it will fit only the relevant data, not this one. So there will be hardly effect on in the accuracy part. And 3. if we are increasing this one trend, then you can see here, then because of the cubic nature of that spline, after 300 period, it is showing a steep rise, which will going to happen. So as you increase the number of degree, you increase this overfitting problem. So what the problem this overfitting will lead to, it will give you a wrong data. Like it is not expected that within next month the currency price will go exponentially high. Okay, but this trend, like if I'm taking a degree of 6, it is giving a more steep rise approach. Okay, so that's how why we better avoid such a problem, and rather in most of the case the polynomial of degree 1 and degree 2 serves the better purpose for a long term trend analysis. Now, in order to get this coefficient directly into the workspace, what we can do and how we can do this one. Let me show this one with a code example also. I'll put this one into comment. Now, say whatever result comes after the fitting, I want to store all the result into m variable, and to fit a polynomial over a data set, I can use a polyfit function. Polyfit. And here I have to pass first the independent parameter, which in my case is the day, and then the dependent parameter, which is I guess x here. Okay. And then I have to tell what is the degree of polynomial I want to fit. Okay. Say I want to fit a 1 degree polynomial in order to know what is the long-term trend of the market. Okay, like how the market is rising. Okay, back again set to 1. Okay, yeah. So now if I run this thing, so this is the command method of getting the same data without manually opening the toolbox. See, for a quick analysis, we use toolbox, but at the end, we want everything to be automated. Okay, because we want the machine to automatically take all the decision, do the calculation and everything. So at the end, we have to write entire everything into a kind of a script, right? So that's why we should know both the method, the toolbox also for quick analysis and the related command method also to get the data. Because manually you won't come every time and do the manual this thing setting. So this is the command method through which you can get the data. And now if I run this section, then here you will see the value of m. Okay, so here m is having two value. One is the p1 coefficient and the other one is the p2, that is the constant part of that straight line. So if the value of m1, which is 0.002, if it is positive, then it means it has a rising trend. So I can easily predict this one, that yes, in a longer run, say in next few months, the stock value will definitely going to increase. Okay, looking at to this graph. Okay, so you can easily correlate that yes, because this is increasing, so you can make your strategy or you can make a good risk analysis, like when you will enter into the market when the value of the stock is below the straight line. And yes, because it is having a kind of a rising nature. Okay, so definitely in a nearby future it will going to have a higher value. So that way you can strategize your strategy. Okay, so here I can write directly that the slope part of this straight line is represented by m1. Okay, and the constant part is represented by m2. Okay. So now, based upon this simple strategy, you can write a if condition, like if the current value of the stock is like below this slope line, and so then you will apply the buy part or the sell part, like that. So any problem up to here in understanding the concept of curve fitting? Sir, your sound is overlapping. Overlapping, I didn't get. If the sound is not coming properly there, is there any sound problem while communicating to participants? Okay.
No, sir, it's quite visible, quite audible to me too.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So any doubt from any participant regarding understanding the curve fitting toolbox? So Chaitanya sir, maybe there will be some internet problem due to which it is like overlapping at yours end. Toolbox to code. Okay. Just in this, okay, toolbox to code. Okay, like how I use the Polyfit. Uh, doubt from Anurag Verma sir. You are asking toolbox to code. So you are asking the Polyfit again, like how it is we are doing it. Okay, here as you can see, like right now MATLAB has not integrated the generate function block in this toolbox. Unlike in the image processing and import toolbox and image segmenter we have seen, in every toolbox they have integrated one feature, that is generate function. So that function right now in this version of 2020 and in all the earlier versions you won't find this feature of generation of code. Rather, MATLAB has right now a separate functions for everything. Like if you want to fit a polynomial, then use polyfit. If you want to fit a spline, then use spline fit, like this. So we have to use those functions, and for those what we can do, we can directly go to this fx or MATLAB help editor and get to know all the kinds of a fit that we can do. So just I'll type fit, and here I'll get a list of all sorts of fit. Uh, say I want polynomial, which we have already seen. Say spline fit I want. No, there is no spline fit. Sum of sine, sum. 1 minute. No, we have spline related something. Spline, yeah, spline tool we have. Cubic spline interpolation. Cubic spline CSAP's curve fit tool is there in order to fit. So MATLAB has a different name for all different operation what we are doing in the curve fitting toolbox. So that we can get it from here. Okay, if you look at to this data, what other interesting thing we can take out from this data, being as a data analyst? See, if I take one more graph, say sum of sines, okay, or say Gaussian, I think Gaussian will sound better. Gaussian of term 4, okay, no. Mhm. Okay, with Gaussian, if I use a Gaussian mathematical model, then with the help of local maxima and minima also, I can make a strategy of like entering into the market. Like whenever I'm having a maxima, like in this section, if you pay attention, then it shows that already the maxima occurred. Now in a longer days, it will be in downtrend. Okay, so we apply different mathematical model to get a different approach. So how to get maxima and minima, that also we'll discuss. Those are related to basic only, but with example we can understand more clearly. Let me tell this one, smooth spline, the smoothing feature. Better, we will use a live script editor only to see this one part. So I think no participant have any doubt in understanding the toolbox, like how you can use it. Okay, fine, no doubt is there. Okay. Okay, now I'll take a just 5 minute break, and then after that I'll continue with the how to deal with like smoothing the data and dealing with the outliers in the data. Okay, so now we'll continue. As you told that there is no option of function generation, correct? There is a generate code option in the file manager. Okay, 1 minute, let me check. There is generate code option file in the profiting tool file. Okay, sorry, haven't seen that one. Okay, that's good. Good, good. Okay, type gauss fit. Fit result. 1 minute. X data, Y data. Fit result. Okay, sorry, my mistake. I didn't have noticed that feature. Uh, so in here also in curve fitting, we have that option. Actually, I was expecting every time that they should give a separate this iconic symbol to generate this function, but I haven't explored this one. That in the file only we have this option. So yeah, if we have the option that then in that way it will do the same. Like whatever we are doing here, let's correlate this one with the polynomial. So we want to fit a straight line, okay, over the entire set of data set, and we want to know a long-term trend, okay. So once we have did all this thing where we have passed the day and in y-axis we have passed the current exchange data, then if you click on the generate data, it will give you again a function like what we have seen in segmenter and all. So first, again, we will change the function name so as to be a user-friendly function name. So this is a kind of a trend fitter. I'll give it a name, trend fitter, so that I'll come to know that it has been developed from the curve fitting toolbox, and it tells the long-term trend, and save it into my data analytics folder. And now, if I call this function in my live script, 1 minute, minimize it. Okay, here only. So trend fitter, if you look at, then it has two arguments. One is the independent parameter, and the other one is the data of the stocks. So I can directly copy this entire first line, put it here, and run this section without opening the curve fitting toolbox. So it gives the result of that curve fitting toolbox. And here in the fit result, like we have the entire equation of the model with P1 and P2 coefficient. So if you want to extract the information of P1 and P2, then we will look into the workspace, especially what data kind it is arranged. So if we double click on the fit result, then we can see all that it is a kind of a symbolic uh, data type. It is not a kind of a matrix. So let me check this one. We can use this data using fit result dot P1, and for P2 extraction we can use dot P2 in order to extract the coefficients. So P1 here represents the slope and P2 represents the constant part. So this way you can extract the information from the fit result data type. So that is a very good method, because sometimes like searching for the documentation can be really a tedious task, because we should know the right keyword, correct? So as we were searching for the some of the science fitting, and there we don't know like what was the exact keyword. So with the help of this curve fitting toolbox and generate code, we can first test like which model is performing better. Okay, say I want to fit a power. No, this is not a good fit. Or Gaussian fit I want to do. Yeah, so I can see Gaussian fit has relatively higher accuracy compared to the straight line. which is have only 79%. So here in Gaussian fit, I have 87% of accuracy. So I don't know like what keyword I should search in the documentation part. So better take this approach. I'll go to file and click on the generate code. And here in Gaussian fit, we have so many parameters, A1, B1, C1. So depending upon it, like we can create a maxima and minima model. See, the advantage of this is not only to fit just a curve. Once we get the curve, then we can easily find out the maxima and minima over that period. Okay, say for example, if I get this curve, then what I will do first, I will create a generate function and say Gauss fit control S. Okay. So now if I want to know the value of say, yeah, so in terms of this, like in the first example, we have fitted a straight line. Now say suppose I want to evaluate the value of stock at say after 400 days. Like right now we have the data of only 300, right? So after 400 day, I want to calculate what will be the value of uh, the price of the stock. So how I can do it? Because I know that in a straight line, the equation, the P1 coefficient or the general equation, I'll put it into comment, is y is equal to mx plus c. Okay. So in order to model this function, where x is my d data, okay, or independent parameter, I'll create that the stock value will be decoded as like this, where the value of m is nothing, just fit result. So whatever after trend fitter function, so whatever model is being stored in fit result, that with p1, because in straight line we have first argument as p1. So this one will be multiplied to the day data. Okay, day data, or say I'll put test day. I'll define the value of test day here, plus result control C, control V, P2. Okay. And for test day, what I will do, I'll take a control. Say, I will take a numeric slider and its value I'll assign. Say the minimum value will be 300 and the maximum value will be say 400. Okay. And it will change its value at every this step. So this is my test data. Test day is equal to this. And now if I run this section, so I can get a value of stock after test day 300, that is 5.9. And if I increase the value, it will again run this one. And because we are seeing a linear trend, so obviously the value should increase, right? So from this slider, you can increase the value, and so does, because we have automated the entire code using curve fitting toolbox and exporting it into a function with trend fitter, which we have saved. So we can use the same to know the value. So now it will give you the value. Okay, after this, that is 370 day, it will go up to 7.081, like that. Please explain how to get slider. Okay. Can we change the confidence interval in the curve fitting? No, you cannot change, because that is the parameter, like the backend parameter on which they like stops the optimization criteria. Like, as you know, the optimization can go to like lot many iterations. So there we have to set a criteria, either the minimum error range compared to the previous, like the residual, the value change is less than 0.0003, okay, or 0.10 to the power minus 5. Like that way, we have to set one criteria in any optimization problem, so that our computer stops the iteration process and give us the best result. So here MATLAB has set a 95% confidence criteria to stop the optimization. Okay, to get the slider, what you have to do, say suppose I want to have a value which changes, which is quite variable in nature, say temperature, okay, or human body temperature. Fine. So I know that human body temperature will range from say 36 by default it is. So from 32 to 40 it can go. Okay. So after equals to sign, what I will do, I'll go to the code section and there I'll find a control. In control, you have lot many features like numeric slider, drop down, checkbox, added field button. So it is related to the GUI only, but you have just studied in the yesterday class, the GUI controls. So some GUI control is there in the live script, so which you can use it for your entire documentation, okay, or for your project development. So here I take the numeric slider, and here in the minimum value, I'll put say 32 degrees Celsius, and in maximum, I'll put 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, and the step increment will be 1 degree. Okay, and that's all. So now, if I change here, the value 2 will change. Okay, so it is a kind of a interactive like program you are developing with MATLAB, in which you can just alter the value and see the output, like how it will going to change. Exponential fit. Okay, yeah. So once again, we'll go back to our curve fitting toolbox. Okay, here is curve fitting. Yeah, here it is. Say suppose after Gaussian, I want to see a comparison. So first, what I will do now, I'll name it. So this is my Gaussian fit, Gauss fit, and I'll run it. Okay. So here you will see in below table, one table is created with same name what you have written here. Okay, and all the data like related to SSSC, R square. So for us to decide which fit is better, we are looking for the sum of the square errors. Okay, and the R square part. Okay, so on these two criteria, we are deciding which mathematical model is fitting to our problem very well, right? So now if I take kind of a different fit, new fit, in which I want to do the comparison, okay? And in this comparison, I say I take a exponential fit, EXP or exponential. Then here also I will take the same day in x-axis and x data in y-axis, okay? And in the second column, I'll change polynomial to exponential. Okay. So the default equation of exponential curve is a multiplied by exponential of b into x. So here MATLAB is evaluating these two parameters, and it come up with this equation that in this case, the coefficient of a and b will be like this, and it also fits to a straight line with same. So here if you look at to the table below, then you will see that the sum of square error in case of exponential is quite high. It is 0.0198 compared to the Gaussian fit, which is 0.119. Okay. And if we also take one more fit of and take the linear fit, okay, and here also if we pass the same day and y, sorry, day and x, then in case of linear fit, we have the sum of square error, which is close to the exponential one. Okay, but why most of the time we take the straight line or quadratic line? Because the straight line overall gives the good long-term range. Okay, with avoiding all the overfitting scenario. So in general, we take 1 degree, 2 degree, or max most of the time for knowing the trend in kind of financial market. to avoid the overfitting problem. I'll take a very small example to show like to what extent overfitting can be a problem. So like this also, like later on you can put into generate code and MATLAB will give entire all these things into a code file. Okay. Is there any model which can take care of effect of event like COVID-19 on stocks? Yes, and it is quite negative. Like you can, it is very easy. You just have to take the data from this site. I'll explain how you can do this. Go to investing.com, investing.com. Actually, data is very critical thing in all data analysis. Like nobody generally gives data for free, but this site provides free data in terms of stocks. Okay, investing.com. So dot no dot in. I don't want dot in. I just want dot com. Okay, so in dot com, if I go, make sure you are not in dot in category because it will show only Indian stocks there. And here, if I go to technical summary in the technical block, there you will find the list of all the exchange like related to stocks, also related to currency also. So now if we assume, say we take the EUR USD currency. Okay, now in this one you'll see one historical data. Okay, so you have to click on the historical data in order to download the data, and you can start with the day when the COVID entered in the US market. That was January something 20. So here you just put that time range. Say I want to do it for January 10. So I'll put 1 up to this one. Okay, and I can click apply. So it will give you a download link on which if you click, uh, continue with Gmail, Gmail site. Okay. I have to do it once again. I click on this again. I will set the uh, month, that is from January 1. So no, January 10 to the present date, and then I can download the entire data. Okay, so now the data is in this folder. So this is the entire day data, right from January 10. No, it is not January 10. Wait, there is some issues. Maybe we have entered wrong date. Mm, January 10. Okay, to June 9. Apply. Okay, I'll browse it to March, February, January. Yeah. Now we have the entire 5-month data. Now I'll download it and open it. Yeah. So now we have all the data, and this data I can import. I'll save it in my working directory. Say, save this data, save as into data analytics folder with the name stock. Okay. With XLS, save. Okay. Now in MATLAB, I'll call this data and see what is the effect of this corona on the stock. So say under stock only, I import this data using read table command, read table. and this is the file name. So first I will load this section. So yeah, so we have loaded the data, and now see, suppose I want to analyze the price. Okay, so just I want to plot the price. I'll select this one. Plot. So how we can directly plot data from table? By using the table name first, that is stock, and then passing the column name, which is price. And this one I want to plot. Okay, so this we can see. Now, in order to see it on in a better scale, what I will do, I'll subtract it from the mean. Okay, so whatever data it has, I'll find out the mean of this to see a kind of a residual plot. Mean of this stock dot price. Okay, and I will subtract this mean from the stock dot price to make one more data, which is like, and I'll store it into say f variable. And here I want to see the plot of f also. Plot f, and run the section. Okay, so here I can see like this is our zero line. Okay, the nature of the graph will be same in both the cases, but right now it is like more arranged with zero scale, a reference line, and I can see on which day it was like instability in the market. Okay, so during the 60 and 80, that is during between these 20 days, that was somewhere around March, because it is 60. So yeah, January ends, February ends. So in March month, there was a huge disruption in the market. Okay, after that again it started to like regain its position. Okay, so that time it was a like heavy outrage break in America, which has a bad effect in the currency fluctuation, because if America dollar will reduce, so the European price will rise in exchange. So this ratio is with respect to EUR divided by USD. So here it shows that in those 20 days, Europe currency was much stronger compared to American currency. Now in this example, I would like to show you some data processing part, like how we can smooth out the data. Okay, like if we consider this case only, then we have some spikes which we want to reduce and to get the this one. So this we can achieve using task feature in the live editor. So what you have to do, just click on the task which is there in the code section, and in task you have a feature called smooth data. Okay, so what smooth data does, this will be like used in kinds of real acquisition uh, system also, where we get data from the sensor. Okay, because the data from the sensor contain a lot of noise, so we can use this feature in order to get the hidden true information from the sensor. Okay, now it will open up a dialog box for you, how to find outlier in the data using MATLAB. Yeah, that I haven't discussed. I'll come to that topic, outlier. Any other doubt up to here? Like outlier, I will discuss after the smoothing data. So no worries about that. Is there any option?
Ashwin sir.
Yes, sir.
Ashwin sir.
Yes,
Sir,
sir. Tell me, sir.
as you were saying that is this toolbox is similar to the linear regression analysis in AI?
No, sir.
Single
This is
linear regression.
correct, sir. I'm understanding it. No, sir. Like this tool is only for data pre-processing part. Regression is kind of
Okay,
a
okay.
making a model, okay, for prediction and
Gotcha.
forecasting. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes. So, like in earlier two classes, we have just learned how we can import the data and see the data in MATLAB. And in this class, we are just paying focus on how we can use different technique in order to process the data. Okay. Yeah. So no doubt. So I'll continue with the smoothing data. Why, after all, we require smoothing? So first we will see the effect of smoothing, and then automatically we will realize why smoothing is required. So the moment I click on task and take smoothing, it will open a toolbox inside the editor only. Okay. And the first argument is input data. So here are a lot of data, out of which I know my data is in F. Okay. So it is like effect of corona on the stock. So I took F and then access by default. Okay, that I will leave it. Smoothing. So smoothing can take a lot many approach, depends upon the mathematics. So moving means like if I take say interval of 10. Okay, so whatever 10 data I have, based upon the average. Okay, I'm like manipulating the data. So right now you can see the effect the moment I take moving mean average. So what is the effect on the graph? So the graph with light blue color, that is the actual, and graph with a thick blue line, that is the result after moving average mean method. So it just eliminate the noise, the unwanted spikes, okay, and give you a better uh, trend, okay, like how the things are going. Okay, so here we have a smoothing factor. Smoothing factor again is divided into moving window. In moving window, what happened? It has a fixed length, okay, and that window size just cascade in a x direction, okay. So a kind of a row wise, it just cascade. So here, if I put 10 or 8, the higher the value I pass, so higher will be like data this thing manipulation. So if I put 10, then you will find that the curve's amplitude like decreases to a lot more amount, because the average of all this line will be still close to zero only, right? So the amplitudes will decrease. So this one, it is up to our choice. There is no hard and fast rule that you should always use 4 or 8 or 10. It is only your choice, like in what way you think it can be helpful for you. Okay, so I'll take smoothing factor. And smoothing factor, if I increase smoothing factor, then I'll show you what is the effect. Say from 25 I got to 50% smoothing factor, then what is the effect? You can see like what was the actual data and how the transformed data is now showing it to me. Okay, so I'm getting a kind of a averaged trend in the market, like how the market rises and drop, and then in like after the breakout, like how the market is a little bit steady because all the data are very close to the line. But during the breakdown, it was like quite big spike in the market. Then now if I take a Gaussian filter, then what is the effect of Gaussian filter? Gaussian filter is very good for data if we are taking from sensor, and say I take one example, say heartbeat. Okay, so if you are taking a heartbeat sensor or a pulse sensor using IR radiation, so there you will see that you will have a lot of noise coming from the sensor. So if you apply a Gaussian filter, then the peaks of all this will represent the point where they detected the pulse. Okay, so all you have to do is to count the local number of maxima throughout the entire length of the data. That local number of maxima will be equivalent to the number of pulse. Okay, so that way you can like make a mathematics out of it. Okay, so after doing this one, like though we have done this thing, but what is the code behind it? So as MATLAB is designed everything keeping the code perspective also in mind. So to get the code of whatever you have done here, what you have to do, you have to click on the triangular notch here. Okay, so the moment you click on the triangular notch here, it will show you with a hint like show code, and it will give you the entire code to be operated on that. So here is the entire code which you can use it into your script to get the data. So that data is saved with a smooth data. Okay, so now I'll use this code with Control C, and I'll click here, Control V, and then I don't require this one, so I'll delete it. Okay, so now I got the code from the task, and now say I want to find out, I think 2017 it was a different command, but let me check. There was a command like maxima in order to find maxima. Max command, no, max command will only give the only maxima, but there is maxima also command. Maxima, no, it is not. Let me check with the MATLAB help editor, like maybe they have changed the name. In 2017 we have one function, so local maxima I want to find. Maxima, okay, so the command is find peaks. Okay, so this command will give me a list of local maxima. So they have changed the command, and now we have to use find peaks method in order to get the total number of this one. So find peaks from which data? From smoothened data. Okay, Control C, Control V, and this I'll store into say num variable, and I'll run this code. Okay, so here in num variable, you will see that we are able to find out 4 points where we have the maxima, right? So now if I want to plot this, whatever I have find the peaks onto the same graph paper, okay, so I'll put hold off from this line and I'll put it here, and I'll plot the same on the this way. So I have to get the position also, at what position it occurred. So say POS position it occurred. Okay, so here I get the position also, at what position it occurred. So now I'll just plot a graph. Plot. First I'll put the position and then the value. Position, comma, num, and this I'll put with a red color with a star symbol, and having the line width property, line width to be say 5. Okay, so that I can easily see at what point it is calculating the maxima. Okay, so here you can see we have some points, the peaks where it find that, okay, yeah, this is the maxima, all the local maxima involved in this graph. We're able to find the 4, and this way, if we use the same technique in the sensor also, like as I said, from the heartbeat sensor or temperature, like through IR, we are checking the pulse. Okay, so we can use the same technique in order to count how many number of local maxima are there, and that will be equivalent to the pulse rate of that person, using like dividing it by 60 seconds of the time. Okay, so that way we can find out. Any doubt up to here? Kindly explain the relevance of moving and okay. Hmm. 1 minute. There is an option of prediction bound tool. There are values like 99%, 95, and we consider as a confident. Neha Gupta, sir, there is an option of prediction bound in tools menu. There are values like 99% and 95%. Can we consider them as a confidence interval? In curve fitting, you are asking, ma'am, this doubt?
For the curve fitting tool.
Okay, okay. Let me check. In which section, ma'am, you are finding it?
Sir, on the tools menu, like in the above menu
Okay,
bar,
okay.
tools
Okay, this
option.
one. Okay, okay. Prediction bound. Okay, yeah. So actually, if you set 99, then what will it will do? Like whatever the data we have, it will check that 99% of the data should be enclosed in that bandwidth of data. Okay, so this technique we generally use for finding the outliers. Okay, like we treat like say 95% of the data should follow the this bandwidth range, and whatever 5% data are outside, we will either trim it or we will set their value to default threshold value. Okay, so that we use only for the finding outliers. So here you can see if I set that to 99%, then here in the screen you can see that MATLAB created two dotted lines, and inside this there exists 99% of the data. Okay, and only few points are there which are having values on an average greater than the combined value. So if we have a bell distribution curve, okay, then these are the few points which are lying outside to those range of data. So this also technique we can use it to find out the outliers. I'll take the next out. Sir, any smoothing filter will introduce a delay. Correct. Agree. In stock smoothing, a delayless filter called jerking filter is used. Okay. Can you please give any technical delay? Um, Sir, any like all this thing like smoothing and whatever other method, that mathematical method we use, generally all have the delay. And why the delay is there? Because our all this mathematical model depend upon the uh, back history data. So it is back trading which we are doing in order to find out the mathematics. Okay, so there will be obviously a delay. There is no such thing like as a kind of accurate indicator which give a real time this thing. The delay will be there, no doubt, because we don't know the future and machine can only predict the future. But whatever this mathematical model which we are using, it depend upon the historical data to find out, say, moving average of 10 periods or 12 period or exponential moving average or MACD. So all this requires the historical data. So whatever you are doing computation, it will have some delay. But that is not a problem because looking at the pattern, we want to predict. Okay, like say in this case only, if I have this curve, okay, and with the bandwidth. So if any data goes above this 99% of the bandwidth, then I'm pretty much sure that yes, in a subsequent next day, it will try to come to the average line or try to normalize itself to the mean value. So I can easily predict, okay, what will be the next trend of the market. Can they explain the relevance of moving window and smoothing factor again? Okay, sure. I'll take once again task. Okay, input data F. Moving window. Okay, so what moving window does, because in our example we total have I guess somewhere around 110 data. Okay, so in moving window, what will happen? Whatever size we are giving, say 8 or 10, so it will take 10 data, or this way. I'll take the print screen and I'll show it in Paint to better explain this concept. Control V here. Just give me a minute. I'll explain it here. Uh, so yeah. So what happens? Uh, Say this is my window. Okay, the width of this window will be directly proportional to the size which I'm giving it. Okay, so the size of this window. Okay, say suppose it is 10. Okay, so it will be taking the average of this 10, and whatever is there it is assigning, and next time it will move again to the next part. Okay, with same size it will come to the next, and this way it will keep on going throughout the entire this thing, like this way it will be keep on cascading throughout the length of the uh, data variable. Okay, so this is called the moving. If you have a higher or the larger size of window, obviously, because the average will be close to zero here, because we have already like scaled it and take the residual plot of this one. So it will close to the zero. Okay, so this one, let me show you again that what is the effect of moving window. So if I increase the size, say I make it 50, okay, and then you can see like what is the effect. So now you can see it is close to the zero axis line. Why? Because I have increased the size of the window. So obviously the average of all the number will be close to zero axis. So ma'am, I think your doubt is clear. Sakshi Gupta ma'am. So again, here is up to us, like what kind of method we are taking in order to get the right data from the raw data. Because raw data, we can see it has a lot of noise, some sentiments effect is also there in stock market. Okay, so we are excluding all those things, and rather we are finding a hidden trend, so that on a long term basis we can know like where the stock will move. So, and smoothing factor. And smoothing factor is also related to same thing only, just the percentage. Here we have to give like how many percentage we want to take in order to smooth it out. If I increase the percentage, say I just make it to 0.65, and it too has the same effect only. So you can see like it will be like shrinking itself closer to zero as I increase the percentage. And there are like different mathematics which I can take, like moving mean, moving median, Gaussian. So Gaussian is good for like getting sinusoidal, and in sinusoidal it is a lot easier to find the maxima and minima. Okay, so that's why to get the number of peaks in throughout this one, which is closely related to the sensor, like if you have like real data system in which you are using for a machine, then you can use a Gaussian filter so that you can easily find out the peaks in that part. Okay, but say if I use a moving mean, and using this I want to find out instead of Gaussian, and say let me give it to 0.3, and then we will see like how many peaks it will able to find out. So here is the case, and now we will see, and even reduce it to less than 1. So, yeah, okay. So now if I take this one as a function, I'll take the code, Control C, and paste it here only, Control V, and I'll copy the code which I've just written here, Control C, and put it here, Control V, and run this entire section. Okay, so find peak smooth data 2. Sorry, I have to change this data because MATLAB already know that I have used smooth data variable. So it has assigned a different variable name here. Okay, now I'll run this one. So now you can see a lot many peaks you can see. Okay, if I reduce the spline. So now being as a data analyst, I will see, okay, what peak I have to consider. Say suppose this peak I don't want to consider. So my smoothing factor should be high enough to override this one, right? So I will increase smoothing factor, or I will increase the window size so that this little local maxima or minima won't come into picture. Any other doubt from the participants? See, data science also depends upon your field also. Like if you are into finance, then you can better understand the data compared to the other person. Okay, like for this case only, like for many people, they will be thinking, okay, the maxima and minima has some relevance. But for a financial people, it will be more relevant. Like this data is more relevant to him than respect to all this data. Why? Because if you pay attention to the neutral line, which is zero axis, then this one is having the highest probability of going down than compared to this one. Because here if I play, then maybe after a few days again the stock market will try to balance itself and I can like get a very low profit, or I can enter into negative part. But here the trend, it is like quite a long, it will take a month to come to this stage again. Okay, so those people will be yeah, like using a higher smoothing factor, okay, in order to get the global, or they will use some mathematics like close to 99% of the probability. Whatever the data is going beyond, that will only give an alert signal via email or via something like that. So that way, the same technique we can use in various fields also, like related to power energy consumption also. If it is going something beyond the permissible limit, then in what case we have to do what is the probability, like how much duration that it can go, because all these spikes generally occur for a very short interval of time. Okay, so is manageable or not manageable? So lot many consideration have to be taken. So it only depends like what kind of field you are, and as per it you can come up with and use different mathematics. So here we are using simple mathematics only, like whatever we have studied, differentiation, integration, like local maxima, local minima, and everything. With the help of this only we are able to find out and give a more meaningful insight story to the data. So now I can even plot the histogram also to get what the histogram gives me a meaning to this data. So let's plot histogram, because from histogram also I can come to know the probabilities. Okay, so histogram F, run the section. Okay, so here in this histogram, if I can see, then the highest bar tells that most of the time the stock tries to be in this range from minus 0.2 to minus 0.1. So it is below zero. So it means that most of the time from the mean average line, whatever we had draw, the stock tries to be there in the lower region. Okay, most of the time. But if you pay attention to the lowest peak in the histogram, that represents a kind of a probability. Like if we play at 0.04 to 0.05, if the stock value is in those price, then there is higher probability that the stock market will come like below to this minus 0.3 to 0.4. Okay, so that way also I can make up my strategies looking at the histogram. So all these techniques gives you a lot many way of working with your data. So I hope, ma'am, your doubt is clear. Sakshi Gupta, ma'am. Okay. Any other doubt from the participants? Can you quickly revise smoothing code? Okay. Mm, okay. Yeah, ma'am. Find peaks is predefined in MATLAB 2020. For those people who are using MATLAB 2017 or before, there is a function named, I think, maxima. Okay. So that you can use to find out the peaks. And to find the minima, either you can use minus of maxima or just put a minus sign to the data, and then you can use maxima, or there is minima, because there is only one function to find the either the lower part or the higher part. So in order to get the opposite one, you just have to multiply with negative sign and you can get the other part also. But in this version onward, MATLAB has given a different function only, like which is find peaks. Okay, smoothing code. Sure. Okay, so in smoothing data, smooth data is a function like which we automatically generated from the toolbox. So this function, what it does, whatever data you will pass, okay, that data based upon what method you are taking, because we have like more than 5 methods. One is the moving mean method, in which we calculate the mean of whatever number we have specified, say 10 number. So it will take the mean of every 10 interval, and it will keep on going in cascading way throughout the end of this one. And based upon it, it will going to smooth. But smooth to what factor? If you are taking one smoothing factor, to what factor it will going to smooth? So that is 10%. Only 10% amount of the data will be suppressed. So this way, it is generating the entire data and putting into this function. So this is just the one line of code, and the other line of code which you are saying, it is just a kind of a graphical plot. Okay, in order to get the graphical plot, like they have given the color information in terms of numbers. So as I told, every color maximum value is 225, and the minimum is 0. So here, because we have to plot the blue color, so red component should be 0, uh, green component is there, and blue component is greater than the green color. So we are getting a very light blue color. And for the other one, which is our thicker line, we are simply using which one, smooth data color, this one, line width 1.5 smooth. So we are simply using it just with a high thickness. That's all. So generally take 4 arguments from you, any smooth data function. The first argument is your data set. Second argument, which is the method which you are using for smoothing the function. And third argument is what way you are taking, either smoothing factor way or a window size method. So in smoothing factor, you have to give the percentage, and in window size, you have to give the total number of uh, days to which it will going to do it. Is there any doubt also, sir, Anurag Verma, sir, in this smoothing data? Does smoothing factor operate on y-axis and window size on x-axis? Yes, sir, absolutely. The smoothing factor operates on y-axis, and yes, window size on x-axis, correct.